there. So the other day I took a break from figuring out what it is that the Shady Bunch is up to. And spoiler alert, there are more of them. But I took a break to watch The Duchess of Narcissus live. And that was the one called If I Did It. And it deals with some very interesting. I don't want to give away the Duchess of Narcissis's secret, but if you haven't watched it yet, I strongly advise you go back and watch that before you watch this, because this is going to have allusions to what she discusses, but I'm not going to say it outright. I want her to, I want you to go watch hers. But in this live that she did, there were a lot of comments that were bringing some serious facts. And one in particular, but a couple other people as well, seemed to be very knowledgeable. And after I was in the live with the Duchess, I, something that the Duchess of Narcissus had said about 2 weeks ago has always stuck with me. And she said something, and I'm paraphrasing, I'm not going to get her exact words, but she was alluding to the fact that, how come nobody has ever come out, nobody who knows Meghan has ever come out and told us anything concrete about, these questions that we have. And the Duchess of Narcissus said, how do we know that they haven't? Because if they were friends with Meghan and they were friends with her in grade school or high school or whatever, and they knew the truth, who would believe them if they put it in their comment? Who would believe them if they said it? It was the idea that a lot of the answers could be right there under our noses if we just listened. And between that and the fact that I strongly believe that the Duchess of Narcissus has a very, very strong source for the things that she was saying in that live, I believe that we need to start paying attention to some of those potentially amazing sources that could be right in front of our eyes. So I'm going to go through. I think there were a lot of truths dropped in that live. I think that live was very important, and I really urge people not only to watch it, but then watch it a second time and just read the comments. That's my advice. Now I'm going to go through and point out the things that I thought were most important, because as far as I can tell, we had a lot of answers in that live that have been questions that have been bothering us for a long time. She gave some bombshell information, and I let me preface this, I don't know any inside information as to where it is that the Duchess of Narcissus got. I don't know her source. I am merely guessing, taking a huge guess, that her source might be someone that was in the comments during that chat. I'm going to go through and show the comments that I think we ought to be paying attention to. Now, this is, you can believe me, not believe me, agree with the comments, disagree. I'm not saying anything other than, to me, there was something different about this particular live, and I am taking this stuff seriously. I don't have any more facts or any more truth or any more evidence than what was there. But there was a point where people stopped saying, I believe, and saying, this is what happened, folks. And that is different because people weren't afraid to say it. Do what you want with this information. This is only my opinion. This is only these people's opinion. This is only the Duchess of Narcissus. I'm not commenting on any of that. I am presenting this to you, and you can do what you want with the information. All I know is that she found out the information from that live stream somewhere. And if she found out that information, she has a source. So within that live, there were a lot of discussions that were happening kind of concurrently with the discussion that was happening with Dawn and whoever she was talking to on the panel. And one thing that was discussed was whether or not, Corey and Trevor are some deep fake. I personally believe that those two relationships existed because there would be no reason. It didn't help any sort of image for her to have had those relationships. The only benefit to the Trevor relationship that might have been other than um, the only reason to invent that relationship might have been to account for 10 years of her life. Like she kind of has to say what she was doing and to give some sort of a purpose to that time, to explain the time. But I don't know. I mean, that's just a possibility. But I personally believe both those relationships happened. It's my opinion. Rachel was after Harry since 2013. Definitely. She had him on her he was on her radar and she was, heat-seeking missile. Thomas Markle knows exactly what he did to help his daughter change her age. He helped, he did it. That's basically what the subject of Don's live was. So again, go watch. You'll be glad you did. Thomas Markle knows exactly what he did to help his daughter to change her age. Back then, it was easy. In 2024, you'll not get away with it. And that's absolutely true. Suffice to say, in a post 9/11 world, this could never happen. But Meghan's age was changed a long time ago. Tom Teller says, folks, the Markle family have lied about everything. How the Queen allowed this marriage to go through is anyone's guess. And I don't think that's a shock to anyone, but it definitely is a bit of confirmation. And we'll get more on that in a minute. Now, I have a confession to make with this photo. Until the royal grift had started to do her investigations on the photoshopped photos from the Markle clan, I thought this photo was always known to be a fake. I thought this was a joke. I thought it was, someone was goofing around and saying, haha, you know, put Doria's face on someone else's body. I didn't realize that this was at one time considered to be a real photo. I mean, are you kidding? The face is out of proportion. It's angled wrong for the body. There's nothing right about this photo. There's no way that's really Doria's face on this body. And so it begs the question, why? Why not just show us the actual photo of Doria in the hospital with Meghan? I mean, why this mess? And I believe that the answer is that a lot of this may have started not just lying about Meghan's age, but Doria's. Because lying about Doria's age protects Thomas Markle Sr. Just putting that out there as a potential thought. All I know is that scene didn't really happen that way. Do that what you will. So let's look at some of the potential reasons. Now, Tom also is answering questions. So people that put in specific questions, if he knew the answer, he was answering them. So one person said, I don't understand all this mess. And Tom Taylor said, this was a plan and they stuck to it, which makes perfect sense to me. Is it Doria who needed to lie about her age because she gave birth to Meghan at 17? Tom got a 16-year-old pregnant. Makes sense why she lied about being born in 81. And that would seem to have been pretty darn close to the mark because Doria was only 15 when Meghan was born. Think about that. That explains so much. That explains why they're lying about her age. It explains why they're keeping it going. That it's not just about, an actress who changed her age. There's a good reason. They're protecting something by keeping her age at the age it is. She's a fraud, and the royal family allowed her into the royal family, and they are covering it up. Yes, the whole Markle family are frauds. They were all a part of the plan, but the Markles got kicked to the side. At the end, Rachel set them up. So she's put them in a position, she's backed them into a corner. If they reveal her, they reveal themselves. And that's why they don't talk. That is my assumption. I'm just showing you anything that I say beyond what's on the screen is my opinion. Doria was in federal prison for exactly 10 years. There are records. Doria snitched on others, drug dealers, to even get the 10 years. Her records have been completely wiped. She was facing 25 years. She was facing a 25-year sentence. What she did was some serious crime. So Doria isn't like, and this is something that surprised me. I always thought she was kind of like a two-bit crook. Apparently, she was a pretty serious one. He also made some references to Doria's sexual orientation. You do not become a lesbian by serving a year in prison. Took 10 years for that to happen to Doria. The biggest problem is that the royal family went along with her lies. Maybe they didn't know everything at first, but I'm sure they know everything now. I'm sure they do too. And I recollection he was replying, I don't know if he was replying to something I said in the chat or something that I said on the panel, but he said, yes, I doubt they knew at the beginning, and he's talking about the royal family. I doubt they knew at the beginning, but by the time she had the wedding, they knew. You're telling me the Queen of England didn't know? No, of course. Of course the Queen knew. And that explains her expression at the time of the wedding. I believe that it's possible that Meghan rushed the wedding to happen so that they couldn't find out everything before the wedding was planned. They found out before it actually happened, but by the time they found out, it was too late. Has anyone tried to get info of wedding certificate? What names are on it? Because they didn't use real names at the fake wedding. In the U.S. court of law, H&M are not married legally. They didn't think they would need that. They thought the IPP would save them from all that. I don't know why it would not be legal in the US, but it is in the UK. I'm not sure about that. He didn't explain this any further, but it definitely seems that there is some concern over their married status and or marital status, and it seems that the IPP, if you ask me, the IPP, there's a lot of different things that it could cover. If you ask me, that IPP status could protect them from a multitude of their sins. I mean, how can you say it's just one thing, right? So many things that they need that they could benefit if that could be less of a concern to them if only they had that IPP status. Now, next up, the Royal Grift obviously has put in a lot of work and looked at the graduation photos, and as has the Duchess of North Sussex. And again, it, I can't get past the black robe. If Northwestern University did not have black robes, how is this a graduation from Northwestern? Rachel never graduated from Northwestern, and someone asked, wasn't it from Northwestern College? Graduate gown is black versus purple for Northwestern University. Yes, exactly, you are correct. I'm sorry, but the Markles share DNA. They are all the same. No, the federal government is not going to come knocking on his door for the fraud. There is a statute of limitations, but it seems that they are protecting Mr. Markle from a number of things. And rather than the lies being about Meghan, some of them are about Mr. Markle in order to protect Tom Sr. And if you ask me if even half of what they're protecting him for is true, my original assessment that he is not a good man, it was spot on. It will just expose the Markles as a bunch of liars. Do not trust them. Samantha is a snake digging at all directions, which I agree with 100%. Her uncle was a part of this, and so was her father. Thomas Sr. will take everything to his grave. If he's the one they're protecting, which I believe that is absolutely true, he's not going to tell any secrets, because any secrets he tells, it implicates himself, which I would assume part of what was in the letter, that and the reason they don't want to reveal it is because it was essentially blackmail. If you go public on me, I'm going public on you. My guess. Doria went to Canada as a felon because it's not a violent crime. That's how she was able to get into Canada and the UK despite having a criminal record. She was able to do it because they weren't violent crimes. So she was able to get visas and whatnot and cross borders. He also said her uncle was apparently someone who made a call and got things done by the snap of a finger. It's all about who you know. I believe that 100%. Remember, it's a pre 9/11 world. And in a pre 9/11 world, documents could easily be faked. Now it's much, much, much harder. Folks, what part of her uncle I guess, being involved don't you get? Do you know what he was able to do back in the 90s? Because people weren't, they were arguing, not arguing in a bad way, but they were debating with the Duchess of Narcissus about whether or not this was possible. This is what happened. All she needed back then was a copy of her birth certificate. You can't get away with that today. When you are a diplomat, you don't need to work there to help your niece. It's all about who you know. Even today in 2024, if you know the right people, you can get stuff done. But it was much easier to do it then. And remember, they wouldn't have expected for there to be any way to investigate this at the time. And even more so, no one thought she was going to become a Duchess of the UK. It was so far out of the realm of possibility that no one worried about how are we going to keep this covered 20 years from now. And I am able to confirm when I was in Athens, Greece, I spent a year in Athens in the early 90s. And at the time, if you lost your passport, what it is that's described in The Duchess of Narcissis's Life is exactly what happened. And Tom Taylor agreed. And Don brought up this topic. It is 100% true. What you want to do with it is on you. No one can convince anyone of anything. Rachel is not God. People can dig and find things out. So even though things are sealed, things can be discovered. During the live, we brought up the topic of where Harry was currently, where he is right now. I have said that, in my opinion, Harry went back to the UK for the funeral and he stayed there. He has not left there yet, and he will leave when he comes to New York for that conference. There was some disagreement on that to an extent, saying yes, he's not in the U.S. right now. I think that bookshop, the pictures of the bookshop, the fact that it was a 2-day event, I don't believe it. I think the party was a couple weeks ago, and that's when Harry was there. And then I believe that whole nonsense with the tennis tournament. How do we know when that was? How do we know when it was? We have no idea other than the fact that they're telling us this is when that was. If anyone was there and saw Harry there, please let me know. I'd love to hear it. But I believe that Harry went to the UK for his uncle's funeral and he is still there, in my opinion. And just logistically, think about it. Like, why would he be going, from California to the UK to California to New York? I mean, that's a lot of traveling in just a 2-week period, and there would just have been no need for it. There's no reason for it. Why not stay in the UK with whatever friends are still willing to talk to him for his 40th birthday and then go straight over to the conference? It just makes more sense to me. Says he's going to be there until after January. Now, if he's there until after January, I wonder if that has something to do with the visa. Remember, those entries by each year, he's only allowed a certain amount of entries each year. I wonder if that's connected. We don't know yet. Maybe Harold took the Freedom flight back to the UK because the heat was on. The royal family was not involved in the original deception. They had nothing to do with it. It was all done by the time she was brought to their attention. William is shocked and disgusted by the whole thing, and that's why Rachel will never step back in the UK, which I thoroughly believe. I believe she was kicked out and she was told never to come back. The Queen did it just to please her grandson. She was just happy Harold had found someone that would finally marry him. Meghan intentionally did not want to become a British citizen. She did it to make the royal family upset. In the net flops, she says, "This is not my country," over and over, and that was apparently a dig at the royal family. Not a shock to me. If you are at Chris Boozy's breath, if you are boozy, Prince Harry and Boozy would know me very well. So that gives you a little hint as to who Tom Taylor might really be. There was a lot of conversation during the live about whether or not the authors that used the Markle family as their primary source, what their involvement might have been. And in that, we're referring to both Lady C and Tom Bower. I think Tom Bower may have gotten information from them and then moved on. He didn't continue to consider them the one and only primary source. I think Lady C depends too much on the Markle family narrative and, you know, let the chips fall where they may about that. Lady C has the dirt on the Markles. Doria's 10-year prison stay. She has the federal records, but she won't release it. Archie is in the U.S. currently, according to Tom Taylor, and he heard that Lily was born in Aspen, where H&M often visited. A lot of this, it's like curiouser and curiouser. Like the more I find out, the more I don't understand and think that there's even more behind all the stories. Those authors were not in on this Markle propaganda. Trump will out her, hopefully soon after the election, and deport Harry to Nigeria. I do like the thought that Trump will out her. I mean, clearly the part about deporting Harry to Nigeria was a joke, but I do hope that Trump will. I mean, enough is enough. Let's just get these secrets out there. Let's just end this farce. Seriously, enough is enough already. If they have this much to hide, it explains why they are so intent on supporting Kamala Harris. I mean, they have to protect who's going to protect them? Lady C, however, I think Lady C knows way more but is playing both sides. Hey Samantha, if you're watching this, if I were you, I'd come clean and get a big fat paycheck. Because can you imagine whoever comes through with all this evidence? The Markles are allegedly upset about the money amount Lady C gave to Tom Sr. I think Lady C might have given more money to Sam. Interesting, no? Now, if you ask me, these are the three juiciest bits of all. There are pictures of Rachel pregnant, with Doria sitting next to her on the couch and massaging Meghan's feet because she was blowing up when she was pregnant. That's how you know Rachel did not give birth to her kids. She gained no weight. And the tweet about the surrogate was sent out from Frogmore Cottage through a Kensington Palace account. So he's confirming that that was real and that that was legitimate. And if you don't know what that's referring to, that is referring to this. That is the tweet that was sent out on the 6th of May at 3:02 a.m. and promptly removed. And the question was this a hoax or was it for real? Did someone hack into it? But if I remember correctly, right afterwards there was a tweet with like the eyeballs looking like the side eyeballs, um, also from Kensington Palace, which like retweeted this. I don't know about that one. That one I can't confirm, but from what I hear, this was real. And I have to say, from the get-go, I thought this was a fake. So if this is real, I mean that's huge, people. And the fact that it came from Frogmore and that people in Frogmore had access to the Kensington Palace Twitter account. Well, so who would have done it? I mean, you gotta wonder, right? You have to. Who would have outed this? Is someone's conscience getting to them? Is this, they thought there was some sort of snafu and that they had to come clean? I don't know. But I think that's very interesting. That is something that's bugged me and that I've wanted to know the answer to. And as far as I am concerned, I just got one. So if you ask me, I think that was an awful lot of information that was put out there in just the comments. And like I said, could we have had a lot more? I mean, where did all of these rumors start? All of these rumors had to start somewhere. Someone had to come up with it. And it makes me wonder if they started from someone who was in the know. And no, they didn't provide receipts, they didn't provide the evidence, but maybe they can't. Maybe they're afraid, maybe anything. I don't know. It made me think again about how we can find out some of these things. And you don't go through all the trouble of scrubbing this much if you don't have a lot to hide. And even the change of Meghan's age. What if that change had nothing to do with Meghan and everything to do with protecting the other members of the family, in particular Thomas Markle Sr.? So who knows? I mean, these are all just still more questions. But I say again, we should not have this many questions this late in the game. And the Markle family in particular, they have to know all these answers. I don't think they know any answers as to Harry and Meghan once Harry and Meghan were in with the royal family, because I think they had absolutely no contact with her. But they do know, or at least we can't confirm that they have any contact. I wouldn't depend on their story about the kids, for example, because we don't know if they have any contact with her or not. But when it comes to her childhood, when it comes to Doria, when it comes to her age, when it comes to anything that might have happened prior to, they know the answers. So why aren't they giving them? If they truly are, her new bitterest enemies, if, Samantha now sees Meghan as her arch nemesis, why aren't they giving these answers? They aren't giving these answers for a reason, and it makes you wonder what it is. I mean, we know that they're in it for the bucks, but what else could it be? All good questions. So, again, I'm putting this information out there. This is just what I saw in a live stream. Do what you want with it. It's not for me to defend it. I don't know anything more than presenting this information to you and my opinions. I look forward to hearing your thoughts down in the comments. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope you have a great day.
Don't make me go Cobra. I will go Oprah on your ass. Don't make me.